How you doing? It's Bob Gums, bringing you the Concern Forum from Kampala, Uganda. Excuse me, did I pronounce that correctly? Kampala, Uganda. It's pretty late this evening, and I'm, as usual, thinking about home, thinking about New York, and as you can probably hear, I'm listening to Billy Joel in the background. You know, I saw something on the news. And I have to be honest about it. It really pissed me off. It got me to thinking, uh, what the hell is wrong with us in America? You know, just what the hell is wrong? I'm looking at this thing with Epstein, right? And I'm looking at what's happening with Zohan Mandani in the mayor's race in New York. And I guess you're thinking, what the hell's one got to do with the other? Well, it has a lot to do with each other. Okay. Let me try and break it down. Listen, we have a president of the United States that, at the very least, now he's already a convicted criminal. Okay. Americans voted for a convicted criminal to put in the White House. So we already know that that's done. Now we're finding out that at the very least, this guy was chin to chin with probably the biggest uh, sex trafficker of underage girls in American history. I'm not going to say that Trump, well, maybe I should say it. Was he a pimp? Uh, the evidence, as it's piling up day by day, does not look good, right? Doesn't look good for Donald, doesn't look good for our country. And that lady, what's her name? Maxwell, um, sitting in the joint right now, who says she's willing to talk. Uh, I think maybe what one of three things will happen to her. Either she talks and she makes an under the table agreement to clear Trump, or she doesn't talk, changes her mind, right? Or she wakes up one morning playing the harp with the angels. Okay, like Epstein's doing. Okay, I would caution her to make sure whoever and whenever she talks to anyone, make sure she has her lawyer sitting right next to her. Quite frankly, because she's sitting on a load of dynamite. Now, where does Mamdami fit into this? I'm a registered Democrat, and I'm a progressive, and I'm very woke, and um, I'm also very progressive, like I said. And what I'm looking at all these so-called mainstream Democrats, right? You got that jerk, he was a governor of West Virginia, West Virginia, and then became a senator. I don't have too much use for a guy that starves his own people, right? If you ever been through West Virginia, you'd see it's basically a toxic waste dump. Okay, uh, that so-called Democrat, he presided over that. Number one. Uh, Now you have the governor of Pennsylvania, Shapiro, trying to warn Mamdami about, hey, you have to tamp down on your anti-Semitic, the people in your campaign who are espousing anti-Semitism. Tell you a quick story. Hmm. My last duty station when I was in the Navy, um, I was in operations department yeoman in the fighter squadron, and I went to the first Gulf War. You know, our whole squadron did on the old USS Saratoga. I did something very foolish. I didn't re-enlist, and I'm sorry that I did not re-enlist. At the time, though, I felt that that was the number one, the only honorable thing for me to do. Number two, my wife, God rest her soul, at that time, um, we were having, giving birth to our son. She was having a very rough pregnancy. And I had been through a lot in that squadron. My whole Navy career was great till I came to that last duty station in Jacksonville, Florida, wouldn't you know? And it was right with anti-Semitism, uh, racism, uh, gender bias. They hated the idea of female naval officers. And I've never heard so much anti-Semitic remarks or anti-Latino remarks in my life. There were a lot, the N word was thrown around a great deal, but see, it was never done to my face. I was up on the third level in the office, down in the maintenance shops. It was quite frequent, but nobody would front me. I guess being almost 6'2", weighing 213 pounds, a kickboxer. I don't know. I guess people felt they didn't want to throw that word around too much. You know, the old N word. But anti-Latino words, and I'm quoting bean picker, wetback. It really it disturbed the hell out of me. The only good friend I had in that section was a first class petty officer who was Mexican American. And I used to ask him, how could you put up with that? And he was a very cool dude, very beautiful man. And then on top of that, you had, I mean, the worst, foulest kind of anti-Semitic comments. It got me so upset that I even wrote a letter to the commanding officer about it. And I told him, I had a meeting with him. I told him, I said, yo, we're supposed to be in the Navy, right? And eventually, what happened? The people that were responsible for a lot of that nonsense, they got rid of them. Uh, Unfortunately, for the longest time, I was battling by myself because most of the black sailors in that squadron, they had been so cowed by the how should I say? Because no, all the white guys were not flaming racist, but it was a very difficult squadron. And I was basically out on the limb by myself. I didn't give a shit, the right is right. And plus being a hard-headed New Yorker, I didn't give a damn. And having experienced a lot of good things out of the Jewish community growing up, I couldn't go for that. So I was fortunate. I didn't have to do the whole war because the way my enlistment time was set up. And when I left Jacksonville, I knew I was going to war. I knew some of the guys who we left with did not come back. So I was fortunate. But I swear to God, I was more happy about the fact of not having to go back to Jacksonville, Florida. So, you take it for what it's worth. So I don't need anyone to lecture me about serving my country or standing against anti-Semitism or anti-Semitism. And I resent what's being done nowadays. If you make a comment about Gaza, and about what is it now, 50,000, mostly women and children, that the Israeli Defense Force is slaughtered. If you say that you oppose that, that somehow that makes you an anti-Semite, I don't think so. If you say that you were against uh, the illegal settlements, that's supposed to make you an anti-Semite? I don't think so. If you criticize the state of Israel, which is a sovereign nation, that somehow that makes you an anti-Semite? I don't think so. I thought that here in America we have freedom of speech. I condemn a government. I do not condemn people or the religious faith, right? In America, we're not supposed, it's the thing everybody forgets. In America, read your Constitution. We're not supposed to be about religion. Yeah, read it. Okay. Um, you're free to choose your religion, not choose a religion, worship your sneakers. Doesn't make a damn bit of difference. But I really resent this business about trying to attack and tear down people because they hold a humanitarian point of view. Yes, I think that saying that we should not slaughter women and children is a humanitarian thing, and that's a good thing, right? And I think that the life of a Palestinian child is equal to the life of a Israeli child. Period. No chaser. And see, this is why I resent what Governor Shapiro had to say about Mamdami and his campaign, like to caution him, yeah, you better watch out for the anti-Semitism. As far as I know, Mamdami has gone around the temples, the synagogues, basically saying, yeah, this whole anti-Semitism crap has got to go. Has no place in New York. So I don't know what more do you want the man to do. Do you want him to retract what he said about the deaths in Gaza? No, that has nothing to do with anti-Semitism. That's about trying to save the lives of human beings. What happened? What was it? Last October, or October 7th, right? I think that was a travesty. I think what has been happening in the West Bank, Gaza, what 67. I believe that is also a tragedy or a travesty. I think the illegal settlements are a travesty. I think that American Jews and Palestinian Americans who have been killed by the IDF uh, has that's a travesty. Okay, so I don't like how this thing goes because it's like if you're not fully bowing down to what's his name, Netanyahu, the Bibi, the Israeli Prime Minister, and if you're not jumping exactly to his tune, then somehow you're an anti-Semite. I ain't going for it. Okay, I fought for this country. I fought for our Constitution and freedom of speech. I also believe that anybody who's an anti-Semite should be hung up by their feet and whipped across the butt until they're screaming, "Oh Canada!" All right. So don't try and pin that bullshit on people. All right. I will not share a table with an anti-Semite. Okay. But if I see what I see going on in Gaza is wrong, I will say that is wrong. I will say that the right wing in the Israeli Knesset is wrong for continuing a war of extermination because that's what it is. And people need to stand, not just Mr. Mandami, but people across the country need to stand up and say that. People across the world are standing up and saying that. And I do not believe that is anti-Semitism. Oh my God, I should have wrote that name down. I know this cat. He is a great actor, and he's a Jewish actor, and he's proud of his background. And he has made a commercial basically begging Israel to stop doing what they're doing in Gaza. And I respect him for that, and I applaud him for that. Hey, I remember when the rabbis and Roman Catholic priests were marching down all kinds of wild streets, like in Alabama and Georgia and all, with Martin Luther King, and getting beat, in some cases killed, standing up for black civil rights. So I get really hyped, I get really hyped behind that nonsense about trying to call somebody an anti-Semite because you don't believe what's going on. That what's happening in Gaza is wrong. No, that does not make you an anti-Semite. And I will be damned if I let them get away with that, trying to smear Mr. Mamdami. That's bullshit. And we need to start standing up in this country. Now, we've already watched our civil rights be knocked, cut away by the Trump regime. I won't call it an administration. It is a regime. And by the way, I think that the greatest, biggest anti-Semite is sitting in the White House right now. It was Trump that invited all these anti-Semites to the White House. So for him to turn around and attack college presidents for not, standing up to anti-Semitism, that's bullshit. That's ridiculous. You know, it's funny to me because I grew up in a Republican household. My parents were civil rights activists and community activists. My old man had a whole bunch of athletic teams for the youth and everything. And he was a union organizer and a union shop steward and a good Republican. Ran for the assembly, vice president of the Morningside Heights Republican Club, all that good stuff right there in New York. But these Republicans nowadays, I mean, they think everyone's stupid. And it really upsets me when I see elected Democrats falling in line with the Republicans, condemning Mr. Mamdami, while we have a president that's tied to sex trafficking of underage girls. Not to mention the fact that he's using ICE as his personal stormtroopers to try and chase out dark-skinned people who he doesn't like, trying to chase them out of the country. Um, that gentleman, what's his name? Oh God, I'm so poor with names. Monty, you know what I'm talking about. The British gentleman who became an American, naturalized American, from Islamic background, a great debater, and he had that thing where he had these right wing, like college guys, and in that age group. And it was shocking to hear some of the dumb nonsense that these people were saying. And see, this is part of that MAGA base that believes that we should have a white America. And see, Mr. Mamdami also catches hell from that side also. Oh God, the Muslim guy, right? Look at him. And some of the media outlets try and make him look darker and darken his beard and all this kind of crap. And, I asked myself, is this America? What the hell's happened to us? This guy says, I think he lost his job too because he's up there with his crazy laugh. And, uh, what's his name? Maddie's asked, are you a fascist? And the guy, yeah, okay. And he's laughing, this hysterical, weird laugh. And then he winds up putting a thing in YouTube. Hey, I got fired. Yeah, you got fired because you said that you were a fascist and you loved Franco and blah, blah, blah. Listen, you got freedom of speech, but you also have to take responsibility. And I don't know what's wrong with some of these young fascists because they seem to forget something called World War II. Like this country went to war against fascism? Or are they forgetting that? We hung people that espouse the beliefs in Germany of what's being espoused by Trump and MAGA today. So I don't get where these guys. I mean, where are their heads at? And then some of these same people who hate Jews will turn around and say, "Well, yeah, I support Israel." Why? I guess because they feel that in that case they're going up against brown people, so it's okay to slaughter them, right? I mean, it's like America has been taken over by nonsense. And I get very, very agitated when I see Democrats falling into this trap. Elected Democrats making damn fools of themselves, worrying about Mamdami in New York. And a lot of times, people who don't give a damn about New York City and the people in it, now that they see a democratic socialist, I'm pretty sure he's going to win the general election in November. And unless they figure out a way to cheat, quite frankly, they're saying, "Oh God, ah, it's the end of the world." New York is becoming the Comintern, right? Bolsheviks are taking over Manhattan, and it's crazy. It really is. And that goes to the psychology of nowadays. Anytime you're trying to do something to help working class people, you get labeled as some kind of monster. But if you want to say, yes, well, the corporations, they deserve billions of the American people's money, you're a freaking hero. And I just I don't understand what's happened with the working class. And yeah, well, they didn't go to college. Oh well, listen. When I was coming up, and like I said, my parents were really active Republicans in the 50s, 60s, and early 70s, and you had working class people that had plenty of good sense, both Democrats and Republicans. So I don't know what in the hell has happened to these people. Um, you have some of these young MAGA people, racist people, and they look at the Mamdami victory so far in New York, and they say, "Oh, this is the beginning of the white genocide in America." Huh? Why? He wants, as far as New York is concerned, he wants to feed white people also. Because guess what? The face of poverty in America is not blackface. It's no longer the minstrel show. You have poor blacks, you have poor Latinos, you have poor whites, you have poor Asians, you have poor Jewish people, right? You have poor white, you have poor everybody. So why is it that in their small peanut brains, the victories of Mamdami is a signal for the white genocide? I mean, that's so weird, but Trump started a lot of this, right? This no good pimp, sex trafficking bastard, he started this crap. And yes, that's exactly what I said. No, I'm not going to take it back. I'm a born and raised native New Yorker. And I've been watching Trump since I was 13 years old. I'm getting ready to I've turned 70. Okay? He has no qualms about rubbing his lifestyle and his women in the faces of all of us, especially in Manhattan. Okay? So I'm from New York. I'm a Northeasterner. Okay? Nothing that Trump is accused of doing surprises me. Okay? Because folks like me, especially folks in my age group, give or take 10, 15, 20 years, we know, okay, what Donald Trump is all about. He has always been about his ego, right? He's always been about trying to prove that, yeah, I'm the top dog, I'm the big cheese. Ah, look at all my women. Has he ever married? And come to think of it, he talks all this USA stuff. Has he ever married an American woman? I don't think so. But anyway, as I said, nothing he does surprises me. Nothing that he is accused of doing would surprise me, especially in terms of women, because that's who he is. That's who he's always been. And one of the reasons I'm so pissed off nowadays, even though I'm 8,000 miles from home, is because I know that between MAGA and the so-called middle class, middle Americans, right? They put him in office. They put Trump in office. And I know why they put him in office. They put him in office because of the fact that he said that Latinos are garbage. He said that Mexicans are killers, rapists, thieves, drug dealers, and the whole bit. He says that Puerto Ricans are garbage. And to prove the fact, after probably the worst hurricane in years, he goes down there and all he does is throw toilet paper at them. Remember that? Yeah. And it pisses me off that people in the Latino community actually, their leaders actually encourage people to vote for this guy. And as soon as he takes office, he starts throwing them out of the country. And it pisses me off that you had some ignorant, self-hating blacks that voted for Donald Trump. Right? How the hell are you going to vote for a guy that goes into the Pentagon and tears down the pictures of black heroes from, from the Civil War, Spanish American War, World War One, World War? Come on, the man's garbage. Okay, and he has turned our country into a toilet. So I would suggest that all you elected Democrats out there, you want something to beef about? You want something to be upset about? I suggest that you leave Mr. Mamdami alone. And you need to worry about this guy Trump, who many of us suspect is going to try and stop the election next year, the midterm election, and is going to try and impose and trying to take over or end the election in 2028. Even to the point of trying to make himself run for a third time, which would be unconstitutional. But hell, if they can pass that through, then Barack Obama can run for a third time, right? Two can play that game. But see, this is the chaos and the insanity that has overtaken this country over the last 10 years. And one of the reasons why the Democratic base, for example, in New York, and I believe another city, what is it, Milwaukee or Minneapolis, the reason why people have turned to the Democratic Socialists is because, with a few exceptions, the Democrats basically have shown themselves to be the party of weakness. Now, you have some in Congress, some Democrats in Congress that are actually standing up and fighting. I'm happy to see that back home, my district where I lived in the Bronx, Congressman Torres, he's standing up like he has a pair. Thank God, thank God. I appreciate that. I respect that. You have that young lady, that young black lady out there in Texas, and you have a few others who are, standing up. Miss Walters out there in California. Uh, you got the law professor in Maryland. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. He's a slugger, and you got a few, and that's good. And I hope every day we start seeing more and more the elected Democrats standing up and fighting. Well, if you ask, well, what's this thing about the DSA and Democratic Socialist candidates doing so well, especially in the cities? It's because of the fact that for the longest time, Democrats didn't seem like they were on the side of the angels, but they didn't seem like they wanted to get out there and, you know, duke it out. And see, it's a funny thing about people. And you talk about working class men and what have you. It's funny. You have a point of view, like Mr. Mamdami has, right? And you stand up and you say, look, I think that this is what we need to do to help working class people. Hey, could it work? Yes. Just like every other thing, every other human endeavor. Might work, might not. But if you got the guts to stand up and state your position and fight for it, people like that. They respect that. Even if they might not, right off the top of their head, agree with you, they're going to respect you for having the guts to stand up and fight. Nobody likes a punk. Nobody likes a coward. And see, that's something the Democratic Party, I don't know, what was it, after we lost to Reagan in '80? Is that what happened? Democrats, they lost their intestinal fortitude? I don't know. I'm not a shrink, but I'm glad to see that some Democrats are starting to gain it back. But that's what happened. So if you want to know what happened to the base of the Democratic Party, I'm not talking about the elected cast. I'm talking about the base, right? That's what happened. We lost hope. We lost something, you know, because it's, you're working like a dog or you just retired and you don't have jack and you see your whole environment crumbling in front of your eyes, and you know that this is not right, you know this is not the way it's supposed to be. But then you look around and it's like, damn, well, who's helping me? Who's going to fight for me? And it's not about the fact that working people, the base people in the party, can't fight for themselves, but you don't have the platform. Most working class folks, they don't have a platform. And they expect those who go out and court the vote of the working class base to get a platform, they expect you to use it. And Democrats have not done it, we have to be honest now. Democrats have not done a good job in terms of using that platform, using that bully pulpit, as they call it, right? And so that's why folks, candidates like Mamdami seem to be doing so well, especially in the cities, right? Listen, I said it before, I say it again. Mr. Mamdami is a great campaigner, okay? He's photogenic, he's intelligent, he knows what the hell he's talking about, okay? But in all honesty, the people who have been in charge for the last decade or so, they've done a lousy job. There would be no French Revolution without a Marie Antoinette and a do-nothing King Louis. All right, there would be no French Revolution. See, and the establishment. I don't care if you're talking about Republican, Democrat, just the corporate businesses, media, whatever. Okay, the establishment has to understand that when you keep getting people day after day after day up against the damn wall, people are going to react. And that's what Mr. Mamdami is. He has taken the the fears, the, the desires, the hopes of people who have been literally pushed up against the wall. We think that he's going to deliver, okay? And that's why all of us out there, all of us registered Democrats who have signed up with DSA or who have not signed up with DSA, but are still going to vote for him, that's what we're hoping. And we believe that he will, quite frankly. And the establishment needs to take that needs to take that in mind, right? Now, you got Cuomo, you got Adams. Cuomo, I think that's kind of self-explanatory, okay? So I'm not even going to delve deeply into that. Adams, this is a guy found with his hands in the cookie jar, and the first thing that comes to his mind is he's going to run to Daddy Donald Trump and say, "Hey, can you use your Justice Department to keep me from getting any kind of indictments or anything?" Is that what New Yorkers want out of their mayor? Right? A guy who's going to run to Donald Trump, a man who's proven over and over again he has nothing but contempt for working people. He has nothing but contempt for people of color, right? He has nothing but contempt for the laws that govern our society. And our mayor is supposed to run to that guy and then expect us to vote for him? I mean, come on, you have to be a real schmuck if you believe that. I'm sorry, but you do. And then you got Mr. Mamdami. I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer, quite frankly. Well, I mean, what the hell? Yeah. I'm going to run to the biggest criminal in the country to protect me. Or the guy that says, I'm not going to travel anywhere. Paris, Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Berlin, nowhere. If you make me mayor, I'm going to stay in New York. I'm going to be your mayor, and we're going to try and fix all the crap that's wrong with this city. And again, that's a no-brainer. That's what this is all about. And so for all you elected Democrats out there that, oh, the communists are taking over. No, no. And look, I can assure you, all right, our allies, or after Trump, I don't know anymore, but what used to be our allies, Canada, France, Germany, Britain, Spain, Portugal, Ireland, right? Our friends, our buddies, right? They all have either, democratic socialist governments or they have very active democratic socialist parties of some form or fashion. And I mean, I've served with some of these people when I was attached to NATO, right? The first time I was in the military, when I was a kid. I mean, there's no like, oh God, it's like some kind of venereal disease or something. They're regular folks, right? I mean, they got their own thing going on, but they're people. They're not bloodthirsty, mad Bolsheviks trying to lop off heads. And look, Democratic Socialists, uh, they like pretty girls. They like, they like pretty partners, whatever. Or they like a nice cut of meat. They like good wine. They like nice cars. They want to have nice apartments, right? Wear good clothes. Uh, they want to make a buck, but not at the next guy's expense. But yeah, they're regular people. The thing about democratic socialists, all they're saying is, look, the things that you as an individual are unable to do, we, as a body politic, as a community, we take care of it. Just like, what's the big thing? Law enforcement, right? Now, maybe once upon a time, it was cool if you felt, hey, this guy attacked my sister, so I'm going to go and get a couple of my boys. We're going to find this guy, and we're going to string him up to a lamppost. Well, we don't do that, right? That's not the way it's done. We have law enforcement that handles that sort of thing. And that is something that's agreed upon by the whole community, by the whole body politic. All right? That's why, what's the thing? Basically, you see it on some cop cars, right? Serve and protect. Serve and protect the community. All of us, right? I think all Mamdami is saying is, listen, A lot of times when you're calling for a cop, what you really need to do is have a mental health person there because we have a very, very high ratio, let's face it, of mental health problems in this country. Okay? We have a lot going on. Everyone's different. Everyone has a different breaking point. And sometimes it's not just a simple case of crime, but there's something internal going on there, right? Now, I'm quite sure that sometimes you got mental people that maybe they do need to go away somewhere, all right? But I think it's better, isn't it better if you can maybe put somebody on the road to getting help as opposed to just blowing his head off? I mean, aren't we more evolved as a society? Isn't that a better thing to do? And that's not saying that, you find dangerous criminals doing dangerous things. Yeah, that's when you got Big John Law in there and, hey, we're going to cut you off at the knees, my friend, and stop it. And if you hurt people, you're going away from here because you are endangering the body politic. You are endangering the community. And everybody can get with that. That's not a problem. But a lot of times you have to make sure that the laws and the reaction to perceived criminals or perceived lawbreakers are fair and just and in proportion, right? You don't give somebody 20 years because they shoplifted a chicken, okay? I mean, that's that crazy shit down south, right? We're supposed to be better than that, okay? So this nonsense about, oh, well, Mamdami, he wants to fire the whole police force and maybe bring out a bunch of social. No, that's not true. And I know you're going to hear that. That's a bunch of crap, right? You want to try and help people where they're at, okay? Sometimes you do need a cop and a social worker at the scene, okay? But this business about firing the police force, a few nutty people brought that idea up. And I think that's crazy as hell. And I'm quite sure so does Mr. Mamdami, right? But there are better ways that we can use assets that are going strictly for law enforcement. And I'm quite sure any sane, decent, fair-minded cop will tell you he'd rather be out there stopping somebody, that's really a dangerous criminal as opposed to having to constantly tussle with somebody that's got a mental issue, right? And believe me, trust me, take my word on this. No decent man or woman, okay, wants to shoot and kill anyone, okay? Trust me, taking a human life it's not a pleasant thing. It's not something that people look forward to doing every day. And if we could maintain a low level of crime in this city without having to have constant violent confrontations, isn't that a good thing? What the hell's wrong with that? And if we can feed people decent, healthy, clean food with his idea about putting like groceries in different points of the city, run by the city, I mean, what in the hell? Why can't we try it? I mean, Jesus Christ, man. You want to bomb some brown people on the other side of the world? Hey, let's go. Whew, F-18s, right? Marine Anfield, 101st Airborne, let's get them. Okay? All right. I guess there are times when that's necessary. I know, I was one of those people. But somebody says, look, let's try something a little different. Because we got food deserts in the city. Let's try and see if we get a better way, if we can have a better way of getting good, healthy, clean food to those people, to those kids. I mean, why is that such a problem? Why? And I would ask the business community, I would ask elected Democrats, I mean, even Republicans. I mean, Republicans have kids, right? And I would ask them, I mean, what in the hell is the big alarm about? Let's try it. You know, it might not work, but maybe in doing that, we might hit upon something else that does work. And I keep saying over and over again, that's how FDR played it. And he saved a lot of lives during the Great Depression. So why not try it? I mean, we're so quick to blow some shit up or march to the other side of the world or send money to kill a whole bunch of people. Can't we take the time out to maybe feed people some decent food? And why would you attack a guy for doing that? I heard some clown on Fox. Oh God, Fox News. Oh, Fox Network. I, I'm not going to get into that right now. But some guy at Fox was on, yeah, and he wants to give baby baskets to mothers who just gave birth. Huh? Is that bad? Really? I don't get it. I mean, I could see if the guy said, yeah, he wants to, I don't know, he wants to tear the clothes off of mothers who have just given birth, and throw them into Bordeaux or some shit like that. I mean, I could see getting upset about that. Well, he wants to give baby baskets to new mothers. I mean, my God, you know how much money we spend on bombs? He wants to give, he wants to give little baskets to people who have just had babies. And that makes him a bad man? I mean, see, this is what I mean about what's happened over the last 10 years in this country. We freaking gone insane. Yeah, I mean, is it better to kick people in the face or to help? It's really that simple. So I say again. Oh, and the rent freeze. Listen, saying this as a New York Bronx apartment, former New York Bronx apartment dweller myself, yeah, I think a rent freeze is a good idea. Now, is that going to solve the homeless situation? I'll be honest about it. Probably not. But my God, we're having more and more people homeless every day. More and more kids out there in shelters, living in cars, and what have you. I mean, if you could do the rent freeze as part of some type of overall package, yeah, I think it's a good thing. Can't hurt, right? Let's see what happens. Let's try it, see what happens. If it doesn't work, well, maybe it might spark something else that, will work. Why should we be afraid to try? I don't see. I don't understand this. I really don't. Maybe because I spent too much time in the military, and because of that, between being a grunt, being a sailor, being an intelligence technician, I know what this country has. I know what this country is capable of. I know how much money is spent, and I'm thinking, listen, if you could do all that, then for the people here at home, or excuse me, back in the States at home, why can't we try some different things? Right? Who the hell's it gonna hurt? You know? Uh, and you're asking millionaires, billionaires, and zillionaires, hey, maybe pay a buck or two extra in tax. It's your country too. I mean, I know if I was a big rich cat, right? And especially if I had kids, I would want their future living in a great place like New York. I would want it to be something more than just living behind some kind of gated community, right? You know, you gotta have security to go out and got a bunch of hungry people walking around like zombies and what have you. It's not a future. It's not a future for New York. I mean, come on, man. Okay. You know, let's try some of Mr. Mandami's ideas. You know, see what happens. You know, it's time that we start acting like human beings again, man. Enough of this Trump shit, for God's sake. You know, it's torn our country apart. And we have maybe what Mandami is doing might be a way to start bringing this back together. I mean, hell, give it a shot. My God. And you elected folks out there, stop attacking Mamdami so much. You have a criminal sitting in the White House who is trying to take, overthrow our constitutional government. All right? You need to worry about that. Let the people of New York deal with New York. Because if I remember correctly, when I had Sister Mary St. Wakefield and good old St. Thomas the Apostle teaching us about civics and government, I think that this thing that we're supposed to have in America is called a democracy, right? Where the people choose their leaders. Let New Yorkers choose their leaders. Okay? Don't come on, man, don't whack it up for us. Please. All right? I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm asking you nicely. Please. Just like I said, you got more important things to worry about, right? You got a White House that has a convicted criminal, and we're finding out it might be a lot more crimes behind that. Okay? And at the same time, this guy is trying to tear down our democracy, our constitutional democracy. And quite frankly, I think that's more important for elected officials to concern themselves with than trying to tear down Mr. Mamdami. Please. Come on, man. We're Americans here. It's about time we start acting like it's time that we start acting our beliefs. Okay? And I'm not trying to be funny. Those of us who have done some time in the military, we put our bodies where our mouth is. And I think that you elected officials, you need to start doing the same and worry about what's the big, about the big picture. Okay? Let New Yorkers decide the fate of New York. Take care. I will check you guys out later. And this is Bob Gums with the Concerned Forum here in Uganda. Peace and take care of each other. Night.